You are now live.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the City of Annapolis Education Commission meeting for Wednesday, October 22nd. We are glad to have you join us, and we have lots of things to discuss, so we're going to get right into it. My name is Janet Norman, and I am the chair of the commission, and I'm going to go around and we'll do introductions according to the ward thing. So we're going to start with Ward 1. We have our newest member, soon to be confirmed, hopefully by the City Council, Dr. Rachel Carr. And Rachel, if you could introduce yourself and just a little bit of your background.
Sure. Well, glad to be here with you. So I'm Rachel Carr. I've been in Annapolis for about a year now, but I grew up in Maryland, going to public schools in Montgomery County, and I am a professor of physics at the Naval Academy. So my education experience is mostly in higher ed, but looking forward to working with you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Ward 2, Jamie. She'll get it in one sec. Yeah. We still can't hear you yet, Jamie. There we go. Okay.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I'm so sorry. My name's Jamie Weaver. I'm from Ward 2. I have 4 children. They are attending Annapolis schools. I used to be a special educator with the Infants and Toddlers program. So I have been a teacher before this, and now am just a parent involved in the PTA and all that other fun stuff.
Awesome. And Jamie's with, are all your kids at Germantown Elementary?
I have one that's not there anymore, but yeah, 3 of them are in Germantown still right now. Yep.
Great. Ward 3, Enid.
Hello. I'm Enid Collis-Lee, Ward 3, a retired teacher who has 2 children who went through the Annapolis feeder school system. And I am also still active with MSBA, and just enjoy being on the committee, doing what I can do to help the schools and the students.
Thank you. Ward 4, we still have a vacancy, and we welcome any applicants from the community to fill that. You can just contact the mayor or any of your city council members. And there's an application form on the website. We will get to you. Ward 5 is India.
India Ox, Ward 5, mother of a 7th grader at Bates Middle School.
Thank you, India. Ward 6 is Corey.
Hi, my name is Corey. I have 2 children in the Annapolis cluster, and I'm on the committee to help any way that I can.
And Corey, one's now at Annapolis High School, right?
Yes. Annapolis Trinity is.
Annapolis High 9th grader, 10th grader?
No, she's a sophomore.
Sophomore, 10th grader, and Annapolis Middle School parent.
Yeah.
Awesome.
8th grader at Annapolis Middle School.
Yes. Moving on up. Ward 7, Laura.
Hello, yes. I'm the Ward 7 representative. I am the parent of a 2021 graduate from Annapolis High, and I am the parent of a current 7th grader at Bates Middle School in the PVA Magnet program. And I'm also the PTA president at Bates.
Awesome. Ward 8, Jess Packler.
Hi, I'm Jess Packler. I am the mom of 4 kids in AACPS, a sophomore at Annapolis High and 8th grader at Annapolis Middle. We get to see Corey's kids every day, which is great. And then I have 2 kids at Eastport Elementary, 3rd and 5th grade. I am also active on the PTAs at all schools, and I'm the president of the middle school PTSA. That's what I do.
Annapolis Middle School president. Yes, Jess wears.
Sorry, Annapolis Middle School.
Right,
because Laura's the other one.
The triumvirate here. Great. Okay, at large, we have Odessa Ellis.
Good evening. Mom of 4 children, 3 graduated from Annapolis High, and working in the community, retired permanent sub. So enjoying my retirement and working in the community.
So Odessa was a retired permanent sub from Annapolis High, and she was
Yeah.
also the co-sponsor of the Black History Club and many other things. So she has a great knowledge of Annapolis High and our students, and helping them thrive
And
there.
is super involved in the community. You see her all the time.
Well, I see you across the street, Jess.
So I don't think our other member, Grace Matthews, is available with us tonight. She's our other at-large member. And then I am an at-large member, Janet Norman, parent of 2018 and 2021 grads from Annapolis High, and past PTA president of Annapolis High. And then who else? Oh, so usually Alderwoman Sheila Finlayson is our city council member on the commission. She contacted me that she is traveling and not able to join us, but we might have a couple other members of the city council if they are available. Alderwoman Rhonda Pillendale Charles, or other people might be able to pop in, or they'll sometimes watch the meetings afterwards, and we super appreciate their participation and views. Okay, moving right along. Thank you, folks. Does anyone have revisions, amendments to the agenda, or additions that you want to throw on? I'm warning you now that please don't take it personally. I will be terminating conversation at certain points if we need to keep moving, because we've got a lot of things to talk about. Lots has been going on. So do I hear any need to revise the agenda, or are we make a motion to approve? Okay, I don't hear any revision. Laura, anyone, can you make a motion to approve?
I'll move.
make
to-
them-
Oh, okay. I'll second.
Second.
Okay, Pam's got it. Oh, Pam, we didn't introduce you. I'm
Oh.
so sorry.
That's okay. I'm Pam Bukowski. I'm a retired speech language pathologist from Anne Arundel County Schools. My 6 children attended schools in the Annapolis feeder system. My youngest graduated in 2010. And I've been active in PTAs all the way up to the county level, and in this commission since it was the committee in 2005.
Yes, Pam has a wealth of knowledge. She's currently serving as our secretary and keeping us totally on track that none of myself or others could do. Pam was also involved in the Teachers Union of Anne Arundel County, TAC.
Yeah.
So she has a breadth of perspectives and experience there to draw on. Thank you, Pam. Okay, so we all voting to approve the agenda, hands up. Motion passes, agenda approved. I sent around the draft minutes that Pam had prepared from the September meeting. Is there any revision to the minutes needed?
Oops. I think you have them in here too.
Yeah, I threw them in there. Nope, not yet. So I hear no revision to the meeting minutes. So if someone would make a motion to approve the minutes.
I make a motion that the minutes be approved as written.
Thank you, Enid. And second.
Second.
I second.
Can I just have
Yeah.
are you going to include the email from the Eastport Elementary PTA in the minutes?
Yes, I will. So what Jess is referring to is we get public testimony submitted through the city website, and then sometimes submitted directly that evening and read into the record. So at last September's meeting, we just read into the record a message from the Eastport Elementary School PTA president. So I will include that message in the minutes, that the testimony that we got.
Okay, can I move then that we amended with that letter, that email added?
Amended with email. Yes. Okay. I'll vote to approve draft minutes. Motion carries. Thank you. Minutes approved. We are very blessed, as usual, to have Dr. Joanna Tobin, our Board of Education president this year, who's able to join us. She's very generous in answering our questions and giving us updates on the topsy-turvy world of lots of new changes going on and new initiatives by our superintendent, Dr. Bedell. So just to let you know, Joanna usually has to leave. Is it by 7 o'clock tonight? Yes. So I give the floor to her, and then we will have questions. Thank you, Joanna.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Janet. It's always a pleasure to be here. For those of you who don't know me, my daughter graduated from Annapolis High in 2020, and I was on the PTSA board there for a long time. So it's nice to be home. The latest actually update that particularly concerns that we want to get out came out this afternoon, that is in the process of sort of getting to know the district and gathering the information that he needs for his 100-day entry plan. Dr. Bedell announced this afternoon his listening tour, and Annapolis High is the first stop. So that is on November 28th, which I believe is a Wednesday.
It's a Monday.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Monday. And yes, I caught that just as it came out, and I have a slide on it later on.
Yeah.
So in case people can't make
it's 6 to 8. And it's going to be an opportunity to hear from Dr. Bedell, and then also to discuss things that you like, things that you wish we'd do better, and what you'd like to see going forward. And he's going to be doing this all around the county. And I think something really important to emphasize is that anybody can come from the community. You don't have to have students in the system, because obviously the schools have an impact on the entire community and are the future of the community. So I hope you'll all share this out in your wards through your various networks, because it's a great opportunity. Some of you may know Dr. Bedell had surgery that Janet can appreciate, rotator cuff surgery about a week and a half ago. And so he literally came out today for the first time to do an event up at the community college with Leadership Anne Arundel to talk about sort of his vision for the school system. And so things have been a little quieter for the last week and a half as he's recovering. I mean, maybe the big shocking news was we had a board meeting last week that lasted all of 55 minutes. So, for those of you who are hoping to have something to put you to sleep, and otherwise we're continuing, I think, in the same vein we have been continuing. Dr. Bedell's report came out today, the weekly report. We are technically now below the 200 mark in our teacher vacancies, which, while not ideal, is actually still pretty good compared to a number of other districts. But obviously we want those positions filled as quickly as we can, and our hiring department just basically works around the clock all through the year now, which is true for school systems around the country. A few more, slowly, piece by piece, a few more bus routes are being filled in as they continue to work the routing efficiencies that they can. I believe for the Annapolis.
Yeah, do you know how many in the Annapolis cluster?
The Annapolis district, the only one that came out that was that was filled last time we had the update was one of the afternoon routes for Germantown is now covered, that had previously not been. And that was something Dr. Bedell, presented to us a few weeks ago as one of the initiatives he's pursuing, which was places where they could find a way, even if it was to just get the afternoon or the morning covered, to do that, because that's some relief for families. It's not the complete package. He has said, I believe this, but we've got an emergency RFP out for renting vans. So that's something we are pursuing. We're hopeful, certainly, that we'll have those coming on board, and that certainly by the time we hit the second semester, we should be in better shape than we are now. But he has also said that for those who have not had a bus for this part of the year, come second semester, there will be a flip. And people who've not had a bus for this entire semester will get one, but others, and this means across the county, right, may lose their bus, because we're trying to be as fair as we can here, and make sure that nobody has to go the whole year without having coverage for their bus. But that,
do you know if the bus from the Robinwood community to the high school has been filled yet?
As far as I know, it has not.
Oh, no.
Odessa, do you have something?
Well, the elementary bus that they were trying to get, that's been filled right from the beginning almost.
Oh, that was the elementary.
The one to Hillsmere has been filled, but Robinwood to the high school.
It's the high school one we're still working on. Now, we continue to work with the county and state transportation. In fact, I have a meeting with Mr. Sneed, who's the county transportation officer director on Friday. And so we're continuing to work with them to fill those gaps any way we can, with other forms of public transportation. I was actually at a meeting on Saturday, which was the Plan 2040 Advisory Committee, which really consists of heads of commissions and boards throughout the county. And it was interesting that across every area, every group that was talking, transportation was at the top of the issue, whether it was school transportation or public transportation. And Mr. Sneed made the comment that, we have to work together because we're all chasing the same CDL drivers. Mm-hmm. And that, that remains the issue, right? Where to find these drivers. Mm-hmm. So that's why the vans are so important, because they don't require the same license that the bus drivers require. And one of the things that Dr. Bedell is proposing, because you may know the other problem we have is we pay for CDL training and we don't necessarily get those drivers, right? They get the license and then they figure out, well, somebody else is giving me a better offer. And one of the things Dr. Bedell is proposing is, to bring those van drivers on and sort of be able to move them up through the system as ACPS employees. So those are the kinds of things we're working on. As I said, Dr. Bedell has been a little under, as Janet can attest, that surgery is a little
very painful.
And
roll over for 4 months, but no problem.
So, I think he's doing okay. I think what he's struggling with right now is just the lack of sleep, which I'm sure you will recognize as one of the trickier parts of this. So,
Odessa.
So anyway,
yeah, I just
go ahead. So those are kind of the top level things of where we are right now. But as always, I'm happy to take questions. So,
Odessa.
Yes.
I think our talk was like 100 to 125.
Tell me how many students coming out of Robinwood for the high school? Do you know?
I'm sorry, Odessa, I'm having trouble hearing you. I think there's
Nick,
some other.
Somebody else has their speaker on.
Enid, you're not muted.
There we go.
Yes, Dr. Tubin, how are you?
Good to see you.
Okay. Can you tell me how many students are coming out of Robinwood to go to the high school?
I can't give you an exact number. I believe a good portion of a bus is dedicated to that route, but I would have to double check on that.
Because Mr. Fisher that works for Hacker, at one time he told me he was picking up kids, you know, and taking them to school. Maybe we can contact him. He, Hacker has a van, and he may be able to pick up the kids in Robinwood.
I do believe a fair amount of work has been done to try to put together options. And I'll be honest with you, the Robinwood community has done an incredible job, because the first week of school, we didn't have the Hillsmere bus. And when I was visiting Hillsmere and I talked to the principal, they were, constantly checking, obviously, their attendance. They had only one child from Robinwood who was not showing up that first week. And that was a child who had previously had attendance issues for other reasons. So it has historically been an issue for that child. And Robinwood did a phenomenal job, but it's hard. It's very, very hard. So, but thank you for bringing that to my attention. I'll double check and make sure that that has been pursued. And if it hasn't, we'll look into it. So thank you.
Great. Jess, I'll go to you next.
Yep. So I had two quick questions. One is we did a field trip last week with eSport, which was great. It was very fun. But we had Lonergan bus us, and it was, right after school. And so obviously that is a bus driver who can drive kids, but he's with Lonergan. So what I'm wondering is what is being done to look at, and it was in a school bus. So is the school system doing anything I know we have contracts with certain people, but if Annapolis Bus Company, for example, isn't able to fulfill their contract, are we able to, and are we looking at reaching out to Lonergan or any other bus companies that have additional buses so that we can fill those gaps? Because at this point, it seems like whatever emergency funding needs to be done could be done, right? I'd love going on a field trip, but I'd rather have 5 buses go to Annapolis High School twice a day.
So my understanding, again, this is based on the presentation from the transportation staff and Dr. Bedell, is that they have continued to look at that. And I think there is an increasing, I think it's fair to say this, there's an increasing will to do, if we have to sort of pull a bid back and rebid for a company that's just not performing, we may have to do that, because we've had now a couple of years where it's pretty clear where the weakest companies are. Unfortunately, we in Annapolis are dealing with one of the weaker companies. Now, beyond that, the ins and outs of I know it's always been in the contracts that we can require other companies that have extra drivers to bring those drivers over into other districts as needed. So, and I know that's something that's been pursued all through this. So I don't know the specifics of the Lonergan issue that you're talking about, but I know that's always been built into our contracts and something we have been doing from the get-go. So
but I'm thinking like maybe even non-contracted companies, right? There's tons of, I work with big bus companies all the time that do transportation for children. And so I'm just wondering, can we do a temporary, not the long-term contracts of the routes, but just saying, okay, Lonergan, for the next 6 months, we need 5 buses a day to do. Is that a possibility?
I not having the specifics of the contracts in front of me, I can't answer with any sort of legal precision, but I can simply tell you this. Dr. Bedell has made it very clear. He made it clear today. He's made it clear. Everything's on the table, and any and all solutions that we can make work, we're trying to make work. And, you know, I think if you've heard enough of his presentations, you understand. And this is, you know, he also has a track record of this in other districts. This isn't just him sort of saying things, that whatever it's going to take to get this done, he's prepared to do. So I can only tell you that he spends more time at the actual transportation offices than, as far as I know, any superintendent ever has, sitting down with, if any superintendent ever has, and they're working through every possible thing that they can find to make this work. So I will certainly bring that to him. I would imagine that that's the kind of thing that they're trying to see what they can do with that right now. But,
Okay.
yeah.
And then the second part of my question, 'cause I said I had
Okay, it has to be quick, and then I move to Enid.
questions, was that in September meeting, Alex Staknovich, who I know isn't with the county the school system anymore, said that the goal for the school system was to have GPS up and running on all buses by October 1st. I was wondering if that has happened, and if it has, where are we on the next step of being able to have an app or some other GPS, not, as he mentioned, to get kids in trouble for being on the wrong bus, but so like I can see where my kid is on the bus, right?
So my understanding, and the latest I know really is largely what Mr. Staknovich gave us, but my understanding was, because fulfilling this is not something we control, right? This is part of the bus patrol work that the county is doing. So the goal was the 1st of October. I have not heard an update. I likely would have, but I will check into it, because it's just not something I've heard recently. But that being said, between Mr. Staknovich having retired and Dr. Bedell being out for the last week and a half, something may have happened without my necessarily knowing about it. I know that some of the questions around the apps, right, which is what you're referring to, I believe, which is what would enable a parent then to sort of see where their kid's bus is and have a sense of what's going on, is weighing what the accessibility of the app is, right? So we certainly don't want something that's a cost on the user end. But then we have to figure out what the actual cost is that we would bear to prevent there being a cost on the user end, right? And I can only tell you, as I keep saying to people, this is budget building season, right, at ACPS. And so it's a moment to advocate for things that you think should be in the budget, but it's also obviously Dr. Bedell's first go around with what he thinks are the things really needed. And I would imagine that, given that there will be some cost that goes with an app, not to mention the research that should go into something like that, that would probably come through in the next cycle, partly because we also have to make sure that the GPS is up and running. So I know they've been doing research. I know it's forthcoming, but I have a sense that there's still some more research that has to be done to weigh what is appropriately accessible to everyone in the community, and how we get that done. So
thank you for that. I'm going to move to Enid with a question.
Yes, going back, Dr. Tobin, to what you were saying about having trained individuals for the proper licenses. Do we not have a binding contract if we're going to train people to get their license, the license for driving the bus? Would it not be binding? I mean, if you're going to train people and have like, okay, we will take you through this training, and then, you give us 2 years, of working for AACPS. or, something. I can't believe that we would train these people and then not have anything to make sure that they give back. Can you kind of tell me how that works?
So this was a matter and is a matter of concern to certainly a portion of the board, because the practice, for reasons, to be fair, that the staff who made those decisions said, they felt in the long run, you kind of have to weigh, are people gonna walk in the door at all if they feel like they're bound to one group, because it's such a competitive market to do this, versus the percentage that we actually get. The percentage is not good. The percentage is about 25% of people who start the process, end up working for us. So the short answer, Ms. Collison-Lee, is as far as my understanding is, we have not had any binding commitment. I think a number of folks on the board, myself included, find that troubling. I suspect Dr. Bedell is going to be reevaluating that, among other things. And as he always does, sort of looking at what our practices in some other districts to kind of weigh this. But I think, so the point is, there's money going out that we're not necessarily getting back, and you've got people who can make triple, quadruple what we can pay with that license. I think that Dr. Bedell also understands that the larger issue here, while we have to address that, we absolutely have to address that, and your point's well taken. We're not going to solve this, honestly, by chasing every CDL driver, because that's a losing proposition for us right now in many ways. So we're only going to get there by using every other out-of-the-box means we can find, because that's just the economics of the situation right now. I have had people say to me, well, just throw more money, we've got to just send more money out for bus drivers. And I understand the frustration, but I will tell you, to sort of put it in perspective, our bus drivers got, I think last year, a 10% COLA. Our teachers, our custodians, our food service workers, some of whom are making less than $13 an hour, got a 4% COLA. And we have to balance we have to figure out a budget that cares for, as well as we can, all of our employees, and also deals with the retention issues in all areas, right? And the hiring issues in all areas. We need food service workers, we need custodians, we need teachers, everybody. So, these are things that we're trying to balance for the short term and the long term. And I think I am hopeful that, as I said, there are solutions out there that don't necessarily involve only CDL drivers, but also that we can continue to partner more with the county and the city and recognize that we're all in this boat of needing drivers, and how are we going to maximize the entire structure to get transportation for everyone where we need it, first and foremost from our perspective to transport our students, but for the whole county. So so that's a big, broad answer to your question, Ms. Collison-Lee, and your point's well taken, but I think it also is just a small part of kind of a big picture of what we're wrestling with right now.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Tobin. I'm going to follow up on that. I met with the mayor and the city manager and the city transportation director a month ago, right before our last meeting. And so I am interested in hearing what transpires during your meeting with the county. And so they were trying to work out as many creative solutions as they can, and moving the routing of the yellow line buses, public city buses, from Annapolis Mall, so it doesn't go to High last and it goes there first. So if we can, many things we can make. I appreciate your comments about the COLAs for the food service workers, because at Annapolis High, it was brought up in the principal's report or the PTA meeting that when you don't have enough food service workers, you have kids standing in line for 30 minutes to get their lunch instead of being able to go to what's called Panther Hour, which is help and support times for students to make up work, to ask questions, to get, reteaching, things like that. So the lack of 1 or 3 food service workers can kind of paralyze the rest of the 2,150 other students in the school from getting their things done. So please do keep us posted as to what solutions are going on and how we can help publicize that and get more kids to school.
Well, I will add to this 2 things. First, our food service work, many of us know this, right? Our food service workers, our custodians, sometimes are the people many of our kids
turn to,
right? Are the people who know their kids. Many of you know, in sort of my other day job, I spend a lot of time evaluating public charter networks around the country for accreditation. And one of the people I always interview, the custodians and the food service networks, food service workers, because they can tell me often more about the students and more about what's happening in the school than almost anybody. I mean, not to dismiss what administrators and teachers and everybody else do, but they understand certain things. And so when you don't have as many of those people, you have to understand that's part of the community of the school. It's not just the function of serving the food. It's something often for many students more than that. I will also say, and I am very pleased about this and support him at every moment in doing this, Dr. Bedell does not pull punches in making it clear where he thinks the need is. And he is on record at our, I guess a week and a half ago, we had the annual networking breakfast for the 21st Century Foundation. And that's where a lot of our business partners and nonprofit organizations come, who do many things to support the schools, whether it's through scholarships or mentorships, various other things. And he stood publicly, he said, the cost of living in this county is such that nobody who works for the school system should make less than $18 an hour. That's just math. And I think, again, this is budget season, but I think for those who really care about the schools, we need to get real about what's required. And Dr. Bedell says often, we're a good system, but we should be a great system, but it costs money to be great. And that money isn't just money you're throwing away somewhere. It's money to support the people who support our students and allow them to live on what we're paying them. So.
Great. That just brings up the point that I'm going to be reaching out. We have emails for all the PTA presidents of every elementary, middle school, high school, and the cluster. And I'm going to be reaching out and encouraging them to develop a list of needs that their PTA would like to advocate in the upcoming budget, and then having them share that with us so that we know and can advocate. And if any of them are talking to candidates in any election, share with us what you are reporting from your school system of what your needs are and what policies you see need to be.
I did want to add, because this has been a concern at Annapolis High, we have been able, thanks, I believe, to the state's attorney's office, we have an additional social worker who is supporting at Annapolis High through that program.
When did that start?
I'm not sure when it started. I'm looking at the information I have. I'm not 100% sure when it started. So I'll find out that about you, but I'm assuming, this fall, but exactly when this fall, I'm not
Right.
I'm not 100% sure.
So
So
that's possibly a 1-year money designation transfer.
it could be. But I guess the point is the need is recognized. And I will certainly continue to advocate for it. I do think that Dr. Bedell, I mean, again, this is what he's said to every group who's met with him. I can't give you everything you want. I can make sure that everybody gets some of what they want. And so I think that's also where prioritizing is so important, to really be able to say, look, these are the most critical needs, and make that case as strongly as possible. So
I would encourage all our commission members to go on the AACPS website. Dr. Bedell has his updates to his entry plan, where he's laid out kind of a strategic analysis of how to analyze the system that he has come into and what it needs. So go in, take a look at his updates, take a look at where he is, take a look at what you want to comment on for him as he's evaluating these things, and please provide comment.
And just quick, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Jess, just quickly to say that plan, what he gathers from it will then in turn be the basis for our new strategic plan for the school system. So.
And unfortunately, sometimes parents and representatives within the Annapolis cluster are so overwhelmed by situations that we don't have the same luxury of time or contacts or resources as, a Crofton Build Our New School did. So really encourage anybody in your schools, even if they send a two-sentence email saying, we need X. Please get them to speak up for the school's needs. I'm going to recognize Jess Packler next.
I just wanted to say that's great news about the social worker. When we're talking about this and talking about how to advocate, a really important way to look at it is that we have 2 social workers at Annapolis Middle. We have 1 social worker at Bates, which is 3 social workers,
right,
who all go to 1 social worker at Annapolis High School, which has more students combined than both Annapolis Middle and Bates, because other people come in and because kids come back that didn't go to public school that live in the cluster. So you have that. I mean, if you just imagine that caseload, right? You have caseload for 3 people now on 1 person's docket, and it's high school, and caseloads in high school are always higher. So I know that oftentimes the comment is, well, Annapolis High School has more counselors than other schools, but Annapolis High School also has a lot of needs, and we're a large school with a lot of needs. It's an urban school. And, we have a lot going on in our school, and good and bad, right? You need counselors and social workers for good and bad reasons. And so, it's just, that's a really important thing. When somebody pointed that out to me a few weeks ago, I was like, wow, that's just simple math. 3 to 1 doesn't work for caseloads. For caseloads being able to be handled properly in the best interests of these kids. And if our mission is education, then, and that's part of education is making sure they're taken care of. So,
well, and I think that's a critical point. And there are 2 things that I would suggest that brings to mind for me. One is, again, we have in Dr. Bedell someone who is considered to be one of the top urban educators in the country. And he and I have discussed this very issue. And he has long experience, and this will be something as he, he's a good educator. He assesses first before he jumps into things. But as he goes through his assessment and determines what's needed, I think equity tiering is very important in the system, right? So we're not just saying, well, you get 2 and you get 2 and you get 2, but we're saying, how do we assess the actual need in a particular place and make sure our resources are going there accordingly. And so that's, I think, part of what he's going to be doing. I think the other thing about, in general, counselors, social workers, pupil personnel workers, so many others, school psychologists. Those are the students who obviously support our, I mean, those are the positions that support our students in what is right now a critical need of social, emotional, mental health support. But they are also the people who enable our teachers to teach, and not have to sort of double as social workers and counselors. I mean, it's not that teachers don't become people that their students come to, and most teachers welcome that and want to have those relationships. Anybody who's ever taught understands that most of good teaching is about relationships at the end of the day. But there comes a time when you need those positions filled so that the students have someone to go to for those, to meet those needs, and the teachers can continue to focus on what they need to focus on, which is being teachers. So, you know, the whole system has to have what it needs for everything to work. And, you know, so I don't think, and we're trying not to think about, you know, well, mental health supports are sort of this ancillary thing over here. They're not. They're critical to the whole system. Social work supports are critical to the whole system. So
Thanks. From that, I will send around to the whole commission. I received the Annapolis High School school profile summary that the counseling office does, and they send to college and career people as they evaluate our students. And on it, I noticed for the first time, our free and reduced meal percentages reported is now 61%. Annapolis High has never been, you know, more than 50, 55%. And we always know that there's an additional 5 to 10% perhaps of families that are not filling out the form.
Yeah.
But we're apparently at 61%. I had also asked Assistant Superintendent Jolynn Davis's office for them to send us the data of enrollment as soon as they have it. I know school system takes that snapshot on September 30th. So as we discuss school capacity and school planning and everything, we really need that, and teacher requests for next year, so any of those, we need our enrollment data ASAP. So someone from the school system can get us that.
I will.
Yes. It did, the school profile did have number in the freshman class, and I'd like to see how the September 30th number correlates with that, because it was huge. It was close to 700 reported. If you see the subsequent numbers for each cohort,
yeah,
it was a big jump. So we need to.
Annapolis High continued to grow in many ways, even through the pandemic. I mean, it sort of defied the downward trends in other areas. Now we always knew the strongest loss in enrollment was in the early years, but nonetheless, Annapolis High has continued to grow and is beyond full at this point. So
bursting at the seams. Yes. Did any other commission members have questions for Dr. Tobin that you wanted to ask at this point? Let me know. Raise your hand. Just raise your hand on the screen and I'll let you in.
I just want to let you know, this came up at a previous meeting, and Dr. Tobin, just so the principals did get notice so that everyone's aware that Class Dojo is in fact allowed in schools. Dr. Tobin and I had been discussing that with Mr. Mosier as well. And so they, so for that question, for those who have been wondering, the principals were let known that Class Dojo is allowed. So I just wanted to give an update.
Great.
Jess, you were going to ask Dr. Tobin about the families being required to pay for laptops, Chromebooks at break.
Oh, right. Thank you. I did have that question. I know we discussed that last spring, and I wondered if, with Dr. Bedell here now and sort of getting his feet under where we are on that, what the, in terms of the system-wide policy, I know in a lot of school systems that as long as it's normal wear and tear and it's not like your student threw the computer off the window, out a window or something, the computers are repaired and replaced at no cost to the family because it is a required technology. You know, it's required for them to have technology. This came up because last year I was in one of the schools and they had a pile of 20 computers waiting to be paid that had been fixed, and they weren't being returned to the students until they were paid for. And some of those bills were in the hundreds of dollars, which for, you know, a lot of our students is not a possibility. So anyway, I just wondered if you knew anything about that now, and if not, if that's something that we could look into. And
yeah, I have not yet had a chance. That's been on my list to bring up with Dr. Bedell, but thank you for reminding me, because you know, obviously, again, it's a budgetary question. And this is related actually to one of the biggest budget issues for this year, which is what's known as the ESSER cliff. In other words, the ESSER funds, which stands for the, you know, the complex naming of the federal monies that we've received through the pandemic, through which we funded the initial purchase of Chromebooks, for example. Much of that will be sunsetting beginning this year. So we are beginning to have to work into our budget money to cover the expenses for those things that previously we didn't have to. And obviously maintenance and repair of Chromebooks and replacement is likely going to be part of that. So I did want to bring that up with Dr. Bedell, and I will be doing so, and I'll let you know if I hear more.
And if you can just make sure that our families who are already penalized on transportation are not penalized on having their Chromebooks not effective and leading to lower scores in our schools. I'm going to recognize Jamie.
Yeah, just speaking on that, I was wondering, Jess, if you guys have checked in on like if the community schools, if they're able to help pay for those kind of things too, for some of the families. Because I think that was brought up at one of our meetings, that maybe they could help with those families that had a hard time paying those bills to support them in that situation too.
That's a great point.
What has generally happened with things like this before, I mean, just like, I don't know, the cost for taking an AP exam or anything else, there are waivers and applications for funding to support families who need that help. I would imagine that there's going to be a structure like that if there isn't already. And, you know, community schools have a certain kind of funding simply by virtue of being named a community school based on the population they serve. So it obviously makes sense that they would be in that position. But they also have determined where they want that funding. So we don't want to pull it from other things that they're doing as well. So.
Dr. Tobin, in the press release on the listening sessions, it said at the bottom that Spanish speaking sessions were planned to be added, but didn't have dates right now. Since that predominantly affects the Annapolis cluster, disproportionately. Yeah. Can you let us know as soon as you hear those?
Yeah. My understanding is there will likely be one here in Annapolis and one in the northern part of the county, because that mirrors where the heavier populations of Spanish-speaking families are. And yes, that's to be determined based on just a scheduling structure. So as soon as I know about it, I will let you know.
And can any of those listening sessions be remote for our families that don't have transportation? They could sign in with the link.
I don't know about that, and I will ask about that.
We have a lot where, you know, the parent can't get away.
Yeah, no, I know. And so I don't know if they're planning to set that up yet or not, but I will find out.
Okay,
we're just
one more. Oh, sorry, Laura. I was just going to ask one more question that brought up, and it's something that we've talked a little bit about in the past, but also in terms of our Spanish speaking and access, and is the flu clinics that were being offered. And I was just wondering, in the past pre-COVID, those, and actually even during COVID, those clinics were offered during the day at schools. And now they're being offered after school. They were offered during the day, I think at all Title I schools, but I'm not exactly sure. Now they're being offered after school, and in the Annapolis cluster, it's only at Tyler Heights and Annapolis Middle School, which is, you know, severely limits it if you don't have access to transportation. If you live on the other side of Spot Creek, for example, there's no school near you.
Right.
And if you live here, I mean, even here, it's Tyler Heights. So anyway, I was wondering if there's a reason we aren't doing it in the schools the way we used to through the nurses at the nurse's office, and if there's a possibility that that can come back. I mean, especially given the severity of the flu season already, and you know what can be done to help that.
Yeah, I'll have to find out to what extent we control this, because sometimes these are things we're working with the health department on. They too have hiring issues. And so I just need to find out sort of what drove that decision, and then what the options are for us to make any changes. But I think it's, you know, obviously we want those clinics as accessible as possible. So
yeah, for Rachel and anybody else's explanation, so many of our schools in the Annapolis cluster are receive low rankings from the state ranking system because of our what's called chronic absenteeism. If a student has 18 or more unexcused absences over the entire school year. So a lot of times, you know, parents won't get a note in, or just students being away from school with illnesses like this that spread quickly. That's just knocking us down. Additionally, each illness knocks our school ratings down more, and our students fall further behind when they started off behind.
I did want to mention to you that Dr. Davis shared with me, we've got a grant, and we're working with student services. All Annapolis cluster teams are partnering with something called Attendance Works Consultants throughout the year, which is a way to sort of intentionally address the chronic absenteeism, and frankly, get to the root of it and help to alleviate whatever the issue is that's keeping the student from being at school, because there are a myriad of reasons. Transportation can be one of those. There can be other issues. And so that's something that we got a grant for, and we're working in the Annapolis cluster to support. I should tell you, and just, I'm a couple minutes over, but I just want to tell you something quickly that Dr. Bedell brought up today, which just makes me think about this, the attendance thing. He and Dr. Lindsay, who is the president of Anne Arundel Community College, have had extensive conversations about this. When he was in Kansas City as superintendent, Dr. Bedell set something up called a middle college, which is a school essentially, but it's on a college campus, in this case, the community college, for students who have dropped out of school to come back and finish their schooling, but not back in the high school they dropped out of, which often just leads to the same cycle of issues that caused dropping out in the first place, but rather on the community college campus with full access to that campus, right? And often these are students, these can be students up to, I believe, 24 years of age, right? Which already, they don't want to go back into a high school. That's not what, you know, is going to encourage them to finish their high school diploma. And this is something I think that's been near and dear to Dr. Lindsay's heart for a long time. And when Dr. Bedell came in and had already done it in Kansas City, this is a program I think they were both prepared to work on. And as Dr. Bedell said, if we have, say, about a 90% graduation rate across the county, well, that's still several hundred students, you know, 600-700 students who are not graduating in any given year. And so, you know, if you could even shave that half, you'd have another 350 students walking out with their high school diploma, which, as we know, makes a huge difference in their lives moving forward. But doing it on a college campus, right? Being exposed to what's available there as well. So I just wanted to bring that to you. That's a sort of future plan and something that isn't directly related to the attendance issue, but also gets to some issues that do impact our cluster in particular.
Great. And if you could let Ms. Davis know, we would like to find out more about that program if she can tell us directly. And part of it is also like teaching parents, why it's worthwhile, why it's worthwhile to them to go to the effort of reporting a student's absence as excused versus unexcused. There's no incentive currently for parents to bother when it's chaotic.
I just wanted to point something out. It's actually something I meant to bring up, is that my son had COVID a few weeks ago, and he is just marked as illness, even though COVID is a required 5-day, right? So he's also had the flu. So the flu is when you are 24 hours with no medication out, you can return to school. So that's illness, right? Or any other illness. But COVID, even if you're non-symptomatic, not that I want anyone coming back, right? I'm not saying that. But
that's not the message.
The message I'm going for here. But there is no COVID, from what I understand from speaking to the office, there is no COVID marker, which I think is an important thing when we're talking about attendance, because if you take out all the people who are COVID quarantining, that might help our attendance numbers slightly there.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And again, we're always navigating stuff from MSDE. So I'll be curious to find out, what's the source of that? Is that something we can't differentiate, or if it is, maybe we can at this point. So thank you for bringing that up.
Great.
All right. I do have to run, I'm afraid.
Thank you for sharing your time.
Thank you all. And again, I always say this, my email, jtobin@acps.org. If any of you have questions in the interim, please, I will tell you I'll be out of the country starting next week for a visit with my daughter who's studying in France this semester. So I'll be gone for a week, but in between board meetings. So, so I may not get back to you while I'm in France, but
have a wonderful time, but please come back.
Yeah.
You can come back to Eastport and speak French with us. Speak French. Letters in French.
The euro is 1-to-1 with the dollar right now. So, I may not come back. I don't know. Mr. Silkworth is on notice that. All right. Thank you all. And thank you all for what you're doing.
Thank you. Our next meeting is November 30th. Joanna, we changed because of the holiday, and I'll make sure you have those dates. And I'd like to have Ms. Davis attending and filling us in from the administration perspective.
Okay. Well, let me know, email me so I have it and I can put it in my schedule. All right. Good night. Thank you.
Take care. Great. Next on our agenda is updates from AACPS, but Ms. Davis is not able to attend, and we haven't received anything yet except for the flu clinic information. Laura, you have that pulled up. As Jess mentioned, if you can pull that up for me, as Jess mentioned, the only 2 school-based flu clinics were at Annapolis Middle School today, and Tyler Heights is going to be on November 16th. And those are from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. Encourage as many people as you can to really get that, because I know it's whipping through Annapolis currently. And a parent does need to accompany them to that clinic. So that can be problematic. Okay, thank you. Moving to item number 7, public testimony. I have not received any notice from the city that we had any submittals of public testimony. Do any of the commission members receive anything from their community for testimony? Hearing none, we'll move right along to item number 8, sponsored events and programs. Laura, if you can bring things back up. While you're doing that, I'm gonna remind people that the KB True Value is still having their matching funds program. There we go.
It's in there. It's in the spread. It's in the PowerPoint.
You put it in there? Okay, thanks, Jeff. Through October 31st. So that's our hardware store at the corner of Forest Drive and Bay Ridge Avenue. And you can go in there, buy all sorts of awesome Thanksgiving and Christmas and Hanukkah gifts and regular hardware. And then donations to any of the schools in the Annapolis cluster. And it makes a big difference. I mean, Annapolis High has gotten like $3,000 or more directly to the principal and for the principal's fund.
Yeah, they've donated about $30,000 last year. And right now they are, yeah, and right now they're double matching. So if you make a $10 donation, that means $30 goes to the school that you select.
Wow.
So worth it to make that. And you can make a donation online. There's a link there, where you can just go onto the True Value website and you can make a donation there. It's quick and easy. I did it the other day, and they will double match them, whatever you contribute towards that school.
And I just wanted to say that as of a week ago, in the Annapolis cluster schools, a lot of our schools are doing fantastic with donations, but Tyler Heights, Mills Parole, West Annapolis, and Germantown, and Bates, but not as much as the other ones, could use the extra help. So if you're trying to figure out, you're like, oh, I already gave to Annapolis High School, I want to give to somebody else. Those are the schools that I would, maybe focus on giving a little extra money to.
That's a great point, Jess. Thank you very much. Think of pairing your school with a sister school that could use the assistance. Thank you. Laura, there might be some other, speaking of Mills Parole that you could give your donations to. Laura, could you pull up the slide about the principal of Mills Parole being one of the 4 finalist nominees?
Y'all got to get these slides in order before you send them to me, okay?
We're lucky I got anything to you, Laura.
5 minutes before the meeting started.
5 minutes before the meeting, and this ain't a paid position. Mr. Richard Rogers is the principal of Mills Parole, and we at the Education Commission are super proud of him for being one of our 4 leading nominees in the running for Principal of the Year. And we are so thankful for what he's doing at Mills Parole. We're going to send a note of appreciation from the commission that thank him for growing our future Panthers into the best students they can be. So just let other people know that when they're asking about our schools, that we have such high quality educators that we're blessed to have. Thank you. Laura, there was also, so we went through the flu clinics. There was this is an important one. Please put this on your calendars to talk to as many people in town as you can. On November 1st, right around the corner, next Tuesday, there is a FAFSA night. If you have not had a student in their senior year of high school yet, FAFSA is the acronym for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. And it is the required income documentation form for you to get any sort of merit aid, grants, need-based aid, school work study, anything in higher education. So for training programs at the community college, you can get, assistance and federal aid it's not just for college, but for career training, apprenticeships, other things. So the wonderful staff and counselors at Annapolis High will be helping parents walk through and do the application, which Laura, if you can attest with me, is slightly complicated. Things are worded a little tricky, and you don't always know exactly what they're asking for sometimes. So people bring their past 2 years of tax forms, their W-2 income verification sheet, and any other, savings account statements from the bank or anything like that, and they can help you complete that FAFSA form. So that is huge. If you can, and it says bilingual facilitators will be available. So let our Spanish-speaking parents know that that they can get help filling out this form. Thank you. If you can tell all your folks. Any other, is there anything else in that folder? So the,
Vanessa has her hand up.
Jess, Lily, Odessa.
Yes, this information, is it posted somewhere? You know, the FAFSA and the CDL, all that.
This, I'm gonna give the plug for the Annapolis High School community Facebook page once again. So this was posted by our AVID and change engineering coordinator, Ms. Hogan, at the high school on the page that Jessica kindly resurrected and saved for the Annapolis High School community to be able to exchange information. So
CDL information, where is that?
CDL information was also posted by Ms. Hogan, if you can. So this is a information day for a commercial driver's license. You can go and talk to existing, how to obtain your CDL, talk with current holders and the Department of Transportation, ask them any types of questions, salary ranges, all that good stuff is this Saturday in Glen Burnie, November 5th, the next Saturday.
And I can find this information at Ms. Hogan.
I will send you this flyer, but yes, it's also on the, are you a member of the Annapolis High School PTA community page? What's the name of the page now, Jess?
Sorry, it's Annapolis High School community page, AHUK, exclamation point. You know.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, but I'll send you that, Odessa. You just tag me and I'm also going to be sending out the school profile, the updated school profile, so that everybody knows. Enrollment levels. They've renamed what we used to call the PVA program, which was our Magnets Art program at Annapolis High, has been renamed the Apex. What is it, Laura? The Apex
Arts at Annapolis High and at Bates. Called Apex Arts. Yes.
Yes. So
My
that
daughter got a brand new T-shirt today with the new logo on it.
One of the many magnets. Annapolis High is the school with the largest number of magnet programs of any of the 12 comprehensive high schools in ACPS. Great. So I think that's all the notices on.
Laura, there were a couple more from other schools. I don't know if you want to show them also.
Yep. Let me see what I got.
If it's the one that I put up.
Got the listening. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Hold on.
And on Dr. Bedell's listening sessions, if you can't make the November 28th Monday session at Annapolis High, feel free to go to any other high school if you can attend that night and let them know, stand up and say, I'm an Annapolis cluster parent. I would like to see XX. So you're not limited to just going to that night. Okay, movie night.
We have movie night at Annapolis Middle School this Friday. There's from 5:30 to 6:15 a trunk or treat. And then the movie starts at 6:30. It should be a lot of fun. We're going to have snacks. It's going to support our SGA. We'll have hamburgers and hot dogs that are going to be served free of charge. And if you are interested in doing a trunk for the trunk or treat, please, you can scan that QR code there. It's also on the Annapolis Middle School PTSA Facebook page. And you can bring your trunk and decorate it and have some fun and hand out candy. The movie that we're going to throw is Hotel Transylvania 2.
Okay, thanks, Jess.
There will be prizes for the best decorated trunks.
That sounds like an awesome program. Thanks very much. Is this the first year they've done this? I hadn't heard.
It is. Yep. It's our first year doing it.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
And then there's. Yep.
This is open to all members of the community, even if they're not Annapolis Middle School students.
I think so. Yes. Yep.
Great.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi, Jack.
And then there's another one, Laura. Maybe there should
I
be.
don't know. I can't. Oh, there we go. Wait. There we go. Ooh.
We are doing a uniform drive at Annapolis Middle School for the whole community. We have boxes out front of the main entrance off of Spa Road for donations for short and long sleeve polos in these colors: blue, navy blue, white, purple. That doesn't really look purple, does it? Anyway, and gray, and also gray, black, and navy blue sweatshirts with no logos or hoods on them. So new and lightly used will be accepted. We have for our uniform, we have a lot of pants right now, but I mean, if you have pants to donate and you want to, we will obviously take those as well. But we are desperately in need of tops, so we're doing a top uniform drive at Annapolis Middle.
Jess, is there any way of getting some sort of like Old Navy wish list or Amazon wish list or something that people could buy and have sent to anywhere?
So the address is on there for I guess I should put the zip code on there, but that's the address that you can have it sent to the school. I don't know if you can do an Old Navy wish list, but I can certainly look into that in my free time.
Okay. Yes. Or if money is given to the PTA, could they, and it's designated,
Yep.
sweatshirt fund money.
Yeah, we could do
is
that.
the PTA able to buy some of those items?
Yep. Okay. Yes. And then I had one more announcement. I'm going to share my screen, Laura, for this one.
Okay.
Because it just came in, so I couldn't add it. But Annapolis High School was recognized by ESPN as one of the top 5 Special Olympics unified champion schools for 2022. And the whole article from Special Olympics is about Annapolis High School and how amazing we are. So it's a really neat article. It's ESPN's honor roll, and there are over 8,000 schools nationwide. And we are one of the top 5. So yay, Annapolis High School. For those who don't know about the unified sports program at Annapolis High School, explains a little bit here, but it's been running for over a decade and is really a neat program. In addition to the sports, there's a Best Buddies program that allows it to be integrated throughout the school day. So even those kids who can't participate after school for whatever reason are able to participate, and it creates some really neat connections in the school. So Unified Sports is an amazing program, and this is really awesome and makes my heart happy about Annapolis High School.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Jess. That is amazing.
You're welcome. To Miss Skinner. He's really great. Miss Skinner?
Yep. Yes.
Yeah, as Odessa has seen, there's a reason why enrollment at Annapolis High is booming, because a lot of people want to be there. It is the place to be, and our Panthers are into so many things and so many enriching clubs, and it's diverse and dynamic, and I love to see everything they're doing, and they don't get credit enough for that. So thanks, Jess, if you can send that to us so that we can share it out to our other circles.
It should be in the capital.
What's that, Odessa?
Yeah, I say it should be in the Capital newspaper. Can you hear me?
Yeah. We should make sure it gets to the paper.
That's a great idea. Yep. Yep. To paper. Okay. Any other PTA events or things coming up that we need to know about in any of your other schools for other members? Okay. Moving along, we have, so I sent out a message to all the PTA presidents, and it was at the last minute, of course, but we will be trying to keep them apprised and keep getting information from them. So any of our commission members, if we can get more input, between meetings, we'd love to have what's coming in from your school, what you think, you reaching out to the PTA leadership and just letting them know that we're here to help speak for them in the school system when they're so busy running events like Jess's Halloween trunk or treat extravaganza. I know that takes a lot of hands-on work, but if
That's
you-
actually, just so you know, that's not PTSA. That's being run by the SGA and the counseling department. And it's one of those great things about having an extra social worker who's community-based focused. And I'm not actually sure all of the different organizations, but I think Title I is also part of it. It's a collaborative event. So
Okay, and SGA is the Student Government Association. That's great to hear. That is really great to hear that the school has taken that on, and SGA. Great. So if we can, especially as Dr. Tobin mentioned, it is budget season, and this is my biggest priority, that I want every single school in our cluster speaking up and saying, these are the needs at X school. We want, one more social worker. We need this many after-school club programs, sponsors. We need whatever Dr. Bedell should potentially be putting into his proposed budget that's going to come out early December to the Board of Ed. We want to get him our requests, because requests only get filled when we speak up for ourselves. So if you can spread that message, please, to all your schools. On the next item, transportation, Jess, was there anything you wanted to add, or we're going to kind of wait and see what Dr. Tobin's meeting with the county produces on Friday?
just that we have a new transportation director in the city of Annapolis. He was just sworn in on Monday. And I am hoping that he will see the light that our city needs its own bus stop, not relying on the county bus stop for our students at our high school and other schools in the city of Annapolis. So I'm going to continue working on that because I think it's really important.
Okay, thanks. And we'll keep you posted on Dr. Tobin's meeting. Now to the Annapolis High School capacity and adequate public facilities ordinance. Noting that it's 7:26 right now, so we're going to try and see if we can give 10 to 15 minutes most on this.
All right, so basically I'll do it real quick. So for those of you who aren't aware, or are new or weren't here when we've discussed this over the last 12 or so years, the city of Annapolis has in 2016 and then updated in 2019 an adequate school facilities public ordinance. And we have had some discussion recently because currently Annapolis High School is listed as open. However, if you go through the the actual numbers of the school utilization chart, which is here, you can see that Annapolis High School is in 2024 at 117%. The way this school capacity bill was written was that the city is supposed to take out the out of cluster students that attend Annapolis High School. So anyone attending the magnet programs or anything else. So take out, and when you take out those current numbers, the current number, which is 289 out of area students, we are at, I think it's 103%. And so that puts us at over 100%. And so therefore, the school system the city should be close to development right now for certain developments. So like building, it's over 5. So the short thing is right here, but basically it's certain buildings. The city, I brought this up to the city and they are reviewing the way we've had a change in planning and zoning. And so there's some, just trying to figure out what the law means and how it should be implemented. I strongly believe that Annapolis should be because of Annapolis High being closed, because we are at 100%, right? So as you saw, we're not only at 100%, we're at 117% in 3 years. And, 3 years is not that far away. There's development happening all over the county within the Annapolis cluster. All of the development that is happening along Riva Road and near the town center is within the county, not the city. And that is all part of the Parole Town Center program. And the county has a program where town centers are exempt from having to follow the school APF. So anyone who saw what happened in Odenton and Crofton, they had the same thing when Odenton Town Center was built, because that was exempt, and then all the schools got quickly overcrowded. So in the city, we have this APFO. Obviously, the city doesn't have anything to do with capacity at the school. The city can't go by itself and say, okay, you need to build a new wing at Annapolis High School or anything like that. But the thing about APFOs, whether it's school APFOs or sewer APFOs or police or anything else, is that it provides for mitigation. And so when this APFO was created, and these are all the different things, but it provided for an opportunity to mitigate, so that basically an applicant, as it says, whose proposed project is subject to denial or delay, can provide infrastructure funds, can improve the facilities directly, or can donate necessary facilities in order to allow for approval of the applicant's application. That's one of the most important things about APFOs, and it's used across the country in this matter, and that's the important part. It's used in other parts of the county. There are other schools within our school system where developers wanted to build projects, and the schools were closed, and the developers mitigated by providing funds or building parts of the facilities, and the capacity was increased at those schools, and the development was able to continue. This is not an anti-development process. This is a pro-schools process, because obviously you can't have strong education in an overcrowded building. So this is something that I've been working with along with planning and zoning and some of the aldermen who were part of this, and throughout the years, and I will provide an update at the next meeting as to where we are with that. But I just wanted everyone to know, so that if it comes up, you know about it. If anyone has any questions about it, I'm more than happy to talk with anyone. The good news when you look at the utilization chart is that due to the redistricting and everything else, the majority of our schools have gone down. It's only Annapolis High School and I should know this off the top of my head, but now I'm forgetting. Hold on. And it's not Georgetown East. I really should know that one. Eastwood Elementary and Hillsmere, but Hillsmere is being built. So I think that number is going to change, that are even close to capacity. Everyone else is at a really nice level. So if we can get some help with mitigation at the high school level, then we're in a good place for all of our schools. And for those of us who have spent a lot of time talking capacity and overcrowding over the last many years, it's exciting to see that part of it. Odessa, you had a question?
Yeah, I think there's something wrong, because there's development everywhere. There was an article in today's Capital, I think, about the one on Aris T. Allen Boulevard. Did you see that one?
Yeah.
And I couldn't quite understand it. It seems like that Sheila Finlayson was trying to oppose it, and then some kind of way the developers threatened to sue the city, and then they changed their mind. But why is there so much development going on when the schools are crowded?
Well, because development happens in a city regardless, right? We're an urban city. And I'm not going to speak to the Athens project directly. One of the issues that the city is having right now is like the Athens project, and there's other ones as well that were approved a number of years ago before some of the environmental and capacity, these types of APFOs were put into place, and they've been sitting on a shelf. And now the developers are starting to build them again. So there's a lot of questions in the city as to how those should be handled. But you can't. So that's the whole thing, right? And like I said, it's not anti-development. Development's going to happen. Development just happens to happen in a smart way, and development can't happen in a way that negatively impacts what we already have. So that's the whole point of the mitigation, is that if we're having development and the negative impacts of overcrowding or whatever it is can be mitigated, then it's a win-win for everybody, right? We get to have under capacity schools, and the developers need to keep happening. I mean, people need housing. So, that's part of it.
Yeah, but it's not affordable housing. I mean, they say affordable, but it really isn't. Because
Right.
I mean,
Well, that's a whole nother discussion. I think that we could have, that's a planning commission meeting discussion. But affordable housing is actually exempt from the APFO, certain levels of affordable housing. But Odessa, I'm happy to sit down with you offline and we can talk about this and I can explain a little bit more if you'd like.
okay, and another thing, why do we have another marijuana shop within a mile?
Okay, Odessa, I'm gonna cut you off there, and I'm gonna move to Laura because that's not within the realm of our commission. Laura, do you have something quick on the adequate public facility?
I don't quite understand the whole carve out for our magnet students for two reasons. First of all, we are not counting the magnet students who are coming in from out of the area, even though they are physically in the building and they are contributing to the overcrowding in the schools. Now, I will say we have some fabulous magnet programs that overall elevate that school for all students. Having the International Baccalaureate program there means that we have more rigorous classes that are available, and higher demand for even higher at like AP classes, for example, that all students at Annapolis High benefit from. So having the magnet programs there have a value to our values of our homes here in Annapolis, because those school they make the school more attractive and make it more rewarding for the families who live here. But we are taking out the number of students. We don't count the number of students who come from other areas, outside of our cluster into Annapolis High. But we are also not taking into account the fact that we have Annapolis High students who leave our cluster to go up to Broadneck, for example, for the PVA performance program, or down to South River for the STEM program. So, and those students, typically when you go into a magnet program, you are it's a contingent upon maintaining grades, not getting in, not having discipline issues. So those students who are attending outside of our cluster could return at any moment if they don't meet those needs. So we are taking out the students from outside the cluster, and we're not allowing any space for the students from within our cluster who might return to our cluster for whatever reason.
So
it used to be a net amount.
Yeah, we're not
it's always been this way. I can explain a little bit, Laura. So the answer is, when we first started doing the APFO back in like 2012, trying to get it in, there were people who wanted to cap Annapolis at 120, 110, 105% net, and say, no, we're at capacity. And obviously that doesn't make sense, right? At 120% is not at capacity, it's over capacity. And if you're building at 120, 118%, you're still going to kill the school with capacity. So there was a lot of negotiation, as it is in politics, right? And so we worked through the different things. The one thing that I think that was really important when we were having all the negotiations was to not in any way encourage anyone to start suggesting that we get rid of our magnet programs, because that comes up every time. Well, just get rid of the magnet programs and then we'll be fine. Yeah. Obviously, even if you get rid of the magnet programs, we won't be fine. And obviously the magnet programs offer a much greater, they're a fantastic part of our school for both in cluster and out of cluster. I mean, if you think about it, we have 289 students that are out of cluster that attend. That means that we have 1,900 students that are not out of cluster currently that attend, whether it's for magnet or for just the regular programs or whatever else. And so that was part of the reasoning for that. I don't disagree with you that we shouldn't. I think, that we should, but that's a city council decision. And that's, again, something, we can talk about offline, but that was the reasoning behind that, because we didn't want it to be a stock number of 105 or 110 or 120, like some of the city council members wanted, but we also didn't want it to be like, well, If it's 105 and you just get rid of all the magnet programs, then that'll fix the capacity issue, because that's not beneficial to anybody in the actual education realm. So that was the.
All right, I'm going to thank you, Jess, for doing such a great and succinct and working with our planning director of the city and keeping on top of this issue, because it is huge and does need to be solved. I'm going to move to unfinished business, and I'm going to talk about a couple of things that we've done in prior meetings. We have had 2 of our local mentoring agencies. We have Seeds for Success, which has a comprehensive mentoring program, raising reading levels, other high school programs. And we also have an organization called Charting Careers. And they start early on and follow families through high school and through into college, and giving scholarships and support for first generation college attending students. So I received the newsletter from Charting Careers with all their updates, their contact information. I'm going to send that out to all our commission members. I signed up to do the training to try and help with mentorship for high school students, just getting them through applications and FAFSAs and Naviance and all those complicated things. But if anyone has interest in that, please let me know. They are great organizations that really help our students that don't have the bureaucratic access to programs that many of us are able to battle through. And so many of our families can't. So I will send them along. Does anyone else have any unfinished business that you want to make sure we move to next month? Odessa?
Yes, are we going to have a student representative on the commission this year? Because I'm not sure what's going on with that. And Ina had mentioned something to me.
I don't believe we are. We don't, if we still have the Ward 4 vacancy, if Alderwoman Finlayson, can find another student from Ward 4 who wants to fill that role. Unfortunately, many of our students are pretty maxed out. So that's more unlikely. But
I had talked to a student, Akil Leggett, and he said he was interested, but are you saying that we're not going to have one, or?
I would be happy to include him in the thing that, with the slow speed of getting anyone appointed through as Pam can attest, through the city council process, that would probably not happen for, 3 months or so. But if he wants to attend our meetings and serve as a non-voting student representative, please forward me his contact information to the Annapolis. Any correspondence can go to Annapolis Education Commission @gmail.com. You can write us at any time and suggest that we connect with people, but I can't read minds and need the specifics if you want something to happen. Okay,
All right.
Next Enid, and then I'll go to Jess.
Yes, so what we were trying to find out was, does the student have to represent an area, or if they lived outside the Annapolis area, could they participate? And I had called to find out, and I haven't heard an answer yet. So do any of you know the answer to that?
As long as they're within the county portion of the Annapolis cluster. Are you asking if they have to be a city resident versus a county resident within the Annapolis cluster?
Yes.
I would assume that, like the at-large members that we have here, they could be a county resident of the Annapolis cluster and participate. Again, with the delay of ever getting people approved, I think it would be easier just to bring them in as a representative member that's not a voting member, because it's going to take a while on that.
Okay, that sounds great.
Yeah, but ask, and we still need a Ward 4 member, so ask ask around, ask people and see who we can get for Ward 4 also.
Okay.
Thank you. Jess, did you have a quick?
I did. I just wondered where we were with the motion that we had passed about adding a student member from Annapolis High School and the two others, and whether you had taken that to city council and where we were.
No, so I brought up in an earlier meeting that I had talked to Hillary about that at the beginning of the year, and that our motion was not with the time frames required to go through subcommittee and stuff. She did not think that was that the city council would have to amend their process to do that, and she did not see that happening.
So that would be, we would have people as non-sworn members, right? So like Pam, you're not a sworn member, right? You're just currently a member.
Right. So if we wanted to, I'll look into if the chair wants to entertain additional non-sworn members, can we bring them in from anywhere? A community partner, a middle school student, blah, blah, blah.
But there's no reason we couldn't get the code written, that they didn't have to go through the committees, that the student members could just be sworn in by the mayor?
If you can get the code changed, that would be awesome.
I mean, that's what we have to do. That motion was asking for code change.
Okay. I'm hoping this was I think this was before I took over as chairman. So I'm hoping that motions are sent to the city clerk or the city council. I don't know if they were.
Okay. I'll follow up on that with you on that.
Okay. Anyone else have unfinished business? Enid, is your hand still up? Enid, is there anything you wanted to mention? Okay.
No, I'm good. I just forgot to take my hand in.
No worries. Anyone have new business that they want us to bring up and we work on in the month before the next meeting? And I also want to emphasize this. Please do, like Corey went and researched all the childcare issues with Annapolis City Department of Parks and Rec. It's really necessary and helpful for the members to pursue something during the interim and bring it back to the commission. That's where we get the most bang for our buck. So
I just wanted to say, sorry, on that note, I wanted to say, when we were talking about the PTAs before, I think if everybody within your own ward could reach out to the president of the PTA at your school that's in your ward, and maybe for the middle and high schools, I mean, obviously, Laura and I are the president of the PTAs for our middle schools, but I think, we have the at-large members as well. I think if we could all identify and try to get them more wrapped in. I know that the PTA leadership that I've spoken with at all the different schools, one of the things that we're constantly discussing is the lack of coordination or availability for coordination, right? We're all talking to the same pot of people. Whether it's about after school activities, and same thing within the commission, right? So we're talking about after school programming. We're talking about transportation issues within the city. We're talking about sidewalks, all these different things. And currently there isn't really anybody within the city that is our one go-to. Like, I'm going to go to Jane Smith and she's going to tell me as the president of Annapolis Middle that I should go talk to this person and this person and this person, right? So there's not that. But so we're all, in a lot of ways, if we're not talking, like Laura and I are fortunate that we're friends. And so we talk to each other because we're both middle school PTSA presidents. But otherwise, especially among our elementary schools, we're all sort of building the wheel, all inventing wheels on our own, and then so for example, last month we had Lakira from Georgetown East, and she's really trying hard to start the PTA at Georgetown East. She's a staff member there, so she's obviously super busy doing that also. She's trying to, invent the wheel, but meanwhile over at Eastport, we've already, we have a Mack truck. And so, you can share that information together. And I feel like, and we've talked about this a lot, that our commission could be that place, right? We could have them come on here. We can have people share information or ask questions. And but I feel like it really takes all of us to sort of reach out to within our ward, say, you know, hey, I'm the Ward 8, or I mean, obviously Eastport knows that I'm the Ward 8 person and they always come to me with questions, which is exactly what they're supposed to do. But I just think it would be really great if we could, you know, we used to, for those who haven't been here for a long time, we used to meet, first of all, in the schools, which was great. And we had a lot of participation from the principals of the schools. And because of that, each month we'd have a different presentation, which I feel like we could even do online. I don't, you know, but that's something we could bring back. But we would have a presentation from the principal about what was going on at the school. So we really had an idea. But it also really created this sort of connectivity and community. And for whatever reason, AACPS wanted to get away from that and didn't want the principals to participate any longer, which is, you know, AACPS prerogative. But I feel like, you know, maybe in lieu of that, we could have, if we started doing that with the PTAs, and then that would create a place for them to come together and we could all work together, because we're all working for the same goal, right? The best schools that we have. And in the Annapolis cluster, our schools are different and we have different needs. And our PTAs look different than PTAs in the rest of the county. And so, anyway, that's what I have to say about that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, thank you, Jess. And I think that is a big loss, that we no longer get those updates from the individual schools and the principals and staff that we got to meet at those schools. I'm feeling that absence of the AACPS input. So I'm going to try and work on that to see if we can grow that a bit more. Enid, did you have a new question?
Yes. In regards to what Jess just said, did Anne Arundel County say that we could no longer do that, or did the pandemic occur and then we stopped? You know, we started having Zoom meetings, so therefore we weren't out of school. But I don't ever remember verbally or hearing a letter saying that they didn't want us to do that anymore, because I see no problem in inviting a principal to, like, the beginning of the Zoom meeting to talk about their school like they used to. I mean, unless that did occur, maybe I missed it.
Jess, do you want to tackle that one?
There was a period right before, it wasn't because of COVID, it was before COVID, where there was just a decision from what I mean, I wasn't part of the leadership of the chairperson that isn't here anymore. But from what I understand and what was expressed to us at the meeting was that, it used to be principals and staff were encouraged to attend our meetings. And then that was no longer happening. Principals still came and gave small updates, but not in the way that it was before, where it used to be all the not all, but the majority of the principals would come to each month's meeting, whether it was at their school or not. And from what I understand, that was a change that was made, but maybe that's a change that can be unmade or remade.
Right. So Dr. Tobin is trying to get Dr. Bedell to come and address the Annapolis Education Commission as soon as is humanly possible for him, whether that's the late November or December or January meeting, so that we can kind of talk to him one-on-one about our cluster and see what his budget's doing and things like that.
Yeah, and I do remember that it wasn't going to be a requirement that principals attend the meeting. But I think if we invite a principal and it's up to them, they may want to share that, knowing that there's a PTA president at your school, for example, like Annapolis Middle. If Jess would ask the principal, I'm sure the principal would come. I mean, I'm guessing, but I don't think that stops us from individually asking them, just because it's not mandated by the county public schools.
Okay, I think that's a great suggestion, and we can go forward with inviting principals if they have the time to join us, and getting the date out there early so that they know when it's coming. Which I pledge to you as the chair that I will be changing my procrastinating ways and getting things to you earlier. And we try our best to run things smoothly in a chaotic world. So Pam, our loyal secretary, has requested that we actually finish before or on time tonight, and I think we've done a good job of addressing any new business. Jamie, did you have? Okay, but please email us in the interim, Annapolis Education Commission @gmail.com. I will be sending more things out to you regarding the NGO's mentoring processes, and please fill us in from your individual schools. And thank you all for all you do to continue caring for our students. I'm going to entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. Anyone want to propose that motion?
I make a motion that we end the meeting.
All right, thank you, Enid. Seconded
I'll
by
second.
Laura and Jamie. Third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. Thank you all, and I look forward to talking to you soon.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good
And
night,
welcome again.
everybody.
Thank you for joining our commission.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good night. Jess and Laura, if I can talk to you later, thanks, just for a quick bit.
Sure.
Okay. I'm gonna end.